Today at Finley Stadium, longtime rivals get set to knock heads for the 22nd time ever.
No matter how many games you played on the schedule, there's one that stood out all year.
Georgetown. Georgetown.
Georgetown.
Through 21 seasons of Fighting Tiger football since 1988, the rivalry with Georgetown College is the one that stands out above all others. It's the largest, it's the oldest, and it's the fiercest.
I remember Georgetown, when you're on the bottom of the pile, it was hitting, pinching, kicking, anything win in a Georgetown game. They did it, we did it. It was back and forth. If you had an opportunity to stomp on their hands with your cleats, you'd do it. Try not to get a flag, but you'd do it. I mean, there's no love lost against Georgetown. We want to beat them every year, and we want to beat them bad. And, and it was like, we didn't ignore the other games, but everybody got up and couldn't wait to have the Georgetown on the field. And I think it still stands. I can't wait till this year.
In 1992, Campbellsville got its first win of the rivalry, 29-27 at home over the Georgetown Tigers.
I think the Georgetown got up on us a couple of touchdowns, but we battled back. We had some great football players: Rodney Turpin, Greg Bridges, James Sloan, John Myers, Dan Gonzalez, we call him Gonzo, and Treetop, who's Jeff Harrod, and you had Steve Lovelace and John Teeter and those guys on the defense, and just tremendous football players. But the thing that separated, I think, Campbellsville back in that time is that those guys had stuck with that program until they were all seniors, and that was a senior core football team. So they were able to overcome the deficit that they kind of got into with Georgetown, and when the snow started coming down and they started bouncing back, I think Bridges broke a real long touchdown run. Fastest cat I've ever seen in my life, Greg Bridges. And, the motion started going, and they saw that they had the opportunity. They had a better football team that year. They had struggled the week before and a loss to Union, and knew that they had to really come back and have an opportunity to win that conference was to beat Georgetown.
They jumped up on us early, 14-0. A good drive ensued. It's cold. We drove down the field. I think I scored from about 10 yards out on a little fullback trap. Defense played a whale of a game that day. And of course, the excitement around this game, and you knew something special was going to happen that day. I don't think I've ever shed a tear in a football game, ever. Whether our coach played or whatever, but that day I did. And it was a memorable moment just to look around and see the snow fall and Coach Finley's face. And we took a picture under the big sign down there, and it was, it was awesome. It really was.
Talk about, expand on that a little bit more. Post-game celebration on the field, locker room, bus, or actually it was here, I believe, wasn't it?
It was.
So back in the locker room or just around campus those days, what was that like? Well,
it was surreal, and I know it's an old cliche you hear and people say it over and over, but with the snow falling, and it seemed like the last play of the game, I remember Larry Frith was big, Steve Lovelace was huge on it. We had a kid out of Indiana that chased that quarterback all over the place, making him scramble. And, he's a coach somewhere too now. I can't remember his name, but once they made that play, that kid, that quarterback for Georgetown, scrambled and scrambled. I'm like, somebody hit him. And finally he took off towards the end zone, and Larry Frith and Steve Lovelace, they put a big shot on him and left him on the ground, and the clock ran out. And again, getting back, the snow's falling. And I remember just looking around and knowing that right then that we had, won a share of the Mid-South Conference, championship. The first ever. I think the, football program been going, 6 seasons, 7 maybe. And seeing Coach Finley and all of the congratulatory remarks that he was getting, and pats on the back, and the coaches were crying, and players, just walking around really and almost in stunned disbelief. We knew we had a good football team. And I got hurt a couple weeks, somewhere around the Cumberland game I got hurt, and I was out for a couple weeks with an ACL. But, we knew we had a good football team. And we had a few little roadblocks during the season, and of course, Union being one of them. But you take all of that hard work and then win a game like Georgetown. We'd never beaten them, first time ever. And of course, Georgetown, I don't think saw it coming either, with a stellar defense and a good offense by us. But everyone in the locker room afterwards, and I guess if you could go back and what's heaven like? Really to walk in after playing a game of such magnitude for us, to somebody else it might have been the Super Bowl, and to us it was the Super Bowl. But to walk into that locker room after a game of that magnitude, knowing you've secured a share of the Mid-South Conference Championship, and the looks on people's faces, and if you could freeze that moment, I would stay in that moment forever, because it was a grand experience, to say the least.
The Tigers lost 3 more to Georgetown after that, but won back-to-back games in '96 and '97 against the Georgetown Tigers, the last time Campbellsville has beaten Georgetown.
Quickly, I learned once I became a CU Tiger that Georgetown's the enemy, and we kind of every year we wanted to beat Georgetown, and it was great. Our senior year actually doing that, it was a great feeling. You know, it was about the team. I was actually, I didn't play in that game. I had blown out a knee ACL injury, my second one of my career at CU. But the guys that I fought with in the trenches and the blood and the tears, they were out there. So I was proud for our team and for all my fellow buddies and teammates. And it was just, the feeling was, you know, I think it was a turning point for the program, and you know, excelled from there to the Mid-South Conference champions. And you know, it's memories that you will never lose. You know, every time we play them, it's freezing cold. Sometimes, you know, I remember the years where it was snowing or it was raining ice, and you know, it's every year that type of conditions, and it was just when neither team like each other. So you won't forget that. It's a flat-out war every year when we played. And so it was great for my teammates, and you know, and I have a feeling of accomplishment. I was part of that, even though I didn't play that game. But you know, so that you'll never forget that. It's going to be a memory forever.
Talk about Coach in the atmosphere. I mean, we've got a photo, I think it was from the '97 game that we've used a lot now of him hugging his players right after that Georgetown win. That was an important win for Coach Finley, it seemed like, too. It
was, you know, and Coach Finley was way more than, he was about more than winning football games. He was about winning lives and winning souls for God. That was his number one. But he was very passionate about football as well. And, you know, and he was a great leader for that. And it meant a lot to us to see him be able to, you know, get that victory. We worked so hard for that many years, and you know, it was finally he got a hold of it. And that hug, he didn't want to let go of that. He didn't want to let go of that feeling that we had from beating the big rival. And the feeling, you know, not just for himself, but he's seen that his guys, his boys, his sons out there, the feeling that they were going to have after beating this team. I think that made him prouder than anything, is just seeing every one of us, you know, shouting in victory, and you know, that's great. That memory, I still have that picture as well, and I have several pictures from that game where, you know, after the game with the scoreboards in the background, and you know, and probably everybody on that team has a picture somewhere of that.
Even though the Tigers have struggled against Georgetown the past decade, the rivalry is still alive, and linebackers coach Tim Rogers, who was part of that 1992 and '96 victories, knows that this year's Tiger team has a chance at win number 4.
That rivalry is there. It's there now. You know, you could tell when we stepped out on the field Monday, and then yesterday was possibly the best Tuesday practice we've had all season, which was a little scary. When we left the field, I was like, that's the best we've looked all season on a Tuesday. We're really kind of flowing through the defense, what we're wanting to do. And I know the offense, Coach Purdue said that they possibly had their best practice too. So, you know, that's a good thing. That means that your team is starting to become aware of the capabilities they're having. They're playing a big-time football program with rich tradition and history, and we want those things.
As a former player, I'm excited to come back, and hopefully we just put it to Georgetown. And, you know, and so I don't buy anything that's black and orange. Still to this day. I mean, that's how bitter of a rivalry it is, I think, at CU.
Georgetown, Campbellsville University, big football.